Dear students, welcome to the online classes program of Higher Education Department, Punjab. It is Department of English Language and Literature of Government Postgraduate College, Attic. Here, I am Sharif Zahid, Assistant Professor of English. Well, my dear students, in the last lecture, we were discussing about the functions of a teacher. As we have studied that Russell, first of all, gives us his own definition of teaching, that what is teaching in general. From his point of view, this profession was not an organized one in the past. Anyhow, those who used to teach were expected to have an exceptional knowledge. Then, in the second phase, the writer has discussed, rather given a comparative study between the teacher of the past and today's teacher, and of course, he was giving preference to the teacher of the former days because they used to teach independently. Rather, they were not under the pressure of any government or any other organization. Then, Bertrand Russell quotes certain examples from the past that Plato was punished, prior to him, Socrates was punished, but both of these great teachers have inculcated their views first and afterwards they were punished. And in the last phase of the last lecture, he quoted from the history that there were certain scientists as well who propounded the theory of cosmology, including Galileo and Giordano Bruno. And they were also punished for giving this knowledge of advanced sciences to which the church education was not easy or comfortable. Anyhow, only Isaac Newton was affiliated with the university, and the writer praises the social system which did not interfere in the activities of the usefulness of any of the teacher. Switching over to today's text, first of all, I would like to give you a brief introduction about today's lecture. That Bertrand Russell has thrown light on church education versus state education. Then he himself is of the opinion that we are in the need of universal education. After that, he thinks it preferable that we should create a cultural internationalism. But finally, he switches over to the solution, and with him, the solution is finding a common civilization. And at the end, Russell gives us certain leading features that why and how to appoint a teacher so that he be more effective and useful for us. So let us see this guideline from the text. Russell says that in our more highly organized world, we face a new problem. Although today the world is preferably more organized, but still we are facing a problem of new nature, and the problem is that something called education is given to everybody, usually by the state but sometimes by the churches. It means that now education has gone either in the hands of those people who belong to religion or to those in the hands of those who stand rulers. The teacher has thus become, in the vast majority of cases, the teacher has become a civil servant. So, in both cases, you may say that he is working under the authority of some other person, and what he has to do, a civil servant, a civil servant is obliged to carry out the behests of men, that he will have to fulfill all those orders and orders of those people who have not his learning, whose education is not even equal to that of the teacher. And another pity is this, that who have no experience of dealing with the young, and the person who is issuing certain directions and instructions, that person has no more experience of dealing with the learners, with the students, with the young people. And what does he pose himself? Whose only attitude towards education is that of a propagandist, that he always displays that I am an educationist or I am an officer on education. He may be an officer, but he is not a teacher. It is not very easy to see in these circumstances. So, Russell is of the opinion that if a teacher has to face such like circumstances during the course of his instruction or teaching or imparting knowledge, then how can he perform the functions for which they are specially fitted? Of course, a teacher cannot perform satisfactorily his professional function. Now, after that, he takes first the state education and then will he discuss church education. State education is obviously necessary, but as obviously involves certain dangers against which there ought to be safeguards. When we recommend that it is the duty and responsibility of the state to educate each and every citizen, of course, it is the duty, but the duty also carries certain risks as well. The evils, those risks of state education, the evils to be feared were seen in their full magnitude in Nazi Germany. So, in Germany, there was state education, and what was the result of that? And are still seen in Russia, where these evils prevail. To these evils, Bertrand Russell says that whether it is in the hands of the church or in the hands of the state, whosoever is controlling education, Russell declares these evils. So, where these evils prevail, no man can teach unless he subscribes to a dogmatic creed, which few people of free intelligence are likely to accept sincerely. So, it means those who are good teachers, they aren't ready to obey timely instructions issued by the state or by the churches. Not only must he subscribe to a creed, not only must he subscribe to a creed, but he must condone abominations and carefully abstain from speaking his mind on current events. It means that it is better for a teacher not to speak his viewpoint upon current matters, and he should abstain himself. Means he should not speak on current matters and deliberately avoid, so long as he is teaching only the alphabets and the multiplication table. It means where there is no controversy. In the case of alphabets, they remain same all over the world, and in the case of multiplication table, no controversy arises. As to which no controversies arise, so official dogmas do not necessarily warp his instruction. So they aren't going to twist his teaching. But the teacher has to take care in these circumstances, sorrowfully speaking, that even while he is teaching these elements, he is expected in totalitarian countries, in the single party, dominant party. So, when it is ruling, they expect from the teacher what? But a matter of pity is that they expect from the teacher not to apply the methods which he thinks most likely to achieve the scholastic results, so that his taught should not learn anything which makes them scholar. But what should he do? He should, but to instill fear, subservience, and blind obedience. It means the totalitarian countries expect from the teacher that he will instill among his students fear, slavishness, and total obedience by demanding unquestioned submission to his authority. And they will not raise any question. They should not think whether it is right or wrong, whether it goes for or against. And as soon as he passes beyond the bare elements, these are the bare elements, means whenever anybody is able to think, to learn, to practice, or to criticize, he is now crossing those boundaries. They are beyond the bare elements. So sooner he will receive the message. What is that? He is obliged to take the official view on all controversial questions. So he will be reminded that what is the viewpoint about of the rulers about this. The result is, so what does happen? So the result is that the young in Nazi Germany became and Russia became fanatical bigots, those who are extremists, and those who live cut off from the rest of the world. What does happen with those students? They are ignorant of the world outside their own country. They know not what is happening throughout the world, and totally unaccustomed to free discussion. So they are not in the habit of discussing the matters. Matters of controversy may be there, matter of criticism may be there. There should be analysis, there should be analytical approach, and not aware. Means such students remain in the dark. They do not know that their opinions can be questioned without wickedness, that whatsoever they think is right may not be right. And this state of affairs, bad as it is, would be less disastrous than it is if the dogmas instilled were. So no doubt it is dangerous for the students. But the more dangerous thing is that when this education goes in the hands of the churches, so wherever the people are ruling, so they try to convey their own message of their own choice. This state of affairs, bad as it is, would be less disastrous than if the dogmas instilled were, as in medieval Catholicism. So in medieval ages, what did happen? That they considered that whatsoever we are going to teach is equally useful for all of the people. So that is called the need of universal education and international. But the whole conception of an international culture is denied. So there was the need of universal education, as well as there was the need of creating cultural internationalism. But those who belong to any sect or any dogma, they do not allow rest of the people to think so. But the whole conception of an international culture is denied by the modern dogmatists who preached one creed in Germany, another in Italy, another in Russia, and yet another in Japan. All of them were linked, they were attached to the churches, but in various areas they were imparting various type of education. In each of these countries, fanatical nationalism was what was most emphasized in the teaching of the young, and those who were under them, they were creating a type of feelings among the young with the result that men of one country have no common ground with the men of another. So Bertrand Russell here gives that what is the solution of all these problems. The solution rests with him is that we should create a type of common civilization among our young ones. What is that? That with the result that the men of one country have no common ground with the men of another, and that no conception of a common civilization stands in the way of warlike ferocity. When we find that there is no common civilization, definitely what will happen? We are ready to fight against the rest of the people who are not the follower of that dogma or that ism. So, what the damage was done in the past is that the decay of cultural internationalism, when we fail to create a type of common civilization which lead to cultural internationalism, has proceeded at a continually increasing pace ever since the First World War. So after First World War, we were caught into our dogma or in creating nationalism. Now he is quoting an example from his past. He says that when I was in Leningrad in 1920, I met the professor of pure mathematics who was familiar with London, Paris, and other capitals. Means the professor who came from Russia, he knew other capitals as well, having been a member of various international congresses. Nowadays, the learned men of Russia are very seldom permitted such excursions. But after this imparting this type of education, the highly educated people were forbidden for such for participate. The risk was the fear of their drawing comparisons unfavorable to their own country, that when we'll go abroad, definitely after returning from that country, they will draw a comparison. In other countries, nationalism in learning is less extreme, but everywhere it is far more powerful than it was. So nowadays we are creating another problem for us, that we are inculcating nationalism to our young ones. For example, he is quoting that there is a tendency in England, and I believe in the United States, to dispense with Frenchmen and Germans in the teaching of French and German. If we have a German teacher, so it is his duty to teach German language. If we have a French teacher, it is his duty to teach French language. So a sort of national phobia we are creating. And finally, he has given a very good example that what do we practice in our daily life or commonly while appointing a teacher. So what should we keep in mind? Whether we should prefer that he belongs to my nation, or we should give weightage to his knowledge and competence. Russell writes that the practice of considering a man's nationality rather than his competence in appointing him to a post is damaging to education. Definitely, it is but natural whether we like it or not, but most of the people consider nationality and they least bother about the competency. So, it is not in favor of education. It goes against education, and he declares it an offense, and an offense against the ideal of international culture. Because of such like priorities, we fail to create a culture which is internationally accepted, which was a heritage from the Roman Empire and the Catholic Church, but is now being submerged under a new barbarian invasion, proceeding from below rather than from without. It means no outside authority is pressing us for the appointment of a teacher, rather, our own nation is now creating a sort of phobia for us, that we should not appoint any other person, rather we should prefer the person from our own nation. So this was all about church education versus state education. Then he gave us a kind of solution or the way forward. The way forward is need of universal education, which further leads for creating or promoting international culturalism, and the solution stands finally that there ought to be a common civilization for all of the people. And the last piece was that how and why should we appoint a teacher, and Bertrand Russell gives weightage and importance in favor of the competency in the subject rather than considering his nationality. Thank you very much for watching patiently. Stay blessed.